Hi, everyone. I'm Karen Kernelson, and I manage marketing and communications as well as the Nelson Innovation Center for KAST, the Kootenai Association for Science and Technology. I'm so thrilled to welcome you all to the first webinar in our Digital Marketing Lunch and Learn series. KAST is the only nonprofit tech association serving the entire Kootenai region. We've been around since 1998, and it's our mission to support our communities here in the Kootenays through tech and innovation. The Nelson Innovation Center will physically open once we're able to, but for now we're thrilled to support entrepreneurs, startups, and businesses virtually until that happens. We're so happy you're here to learn all about building a content strategy with our fabulous presenter, Megan Adams. Megan, over to you.
I'll unmute myself. There we go. Hey, everyone. I'm Megan. Before I dive into the presentation, if anyone's having any issues hearing or seeing or anything, you can pop your comments into the chat box, and that's going to be at the bottom of your screen. So let me know if you're there. Let me know if you're having any issues. And then we'll kind of monitor that from there. And then there also is a QA option as well, and feel free to use that to ask any questions. I've dedicated about 15 minutes at the end of the presentation to go over any questions, and I really suggest, even if they're specific, general, you think maybe they're dumb, doesn't matter. I would love to see what issues you have and what questions you have around content marketing and digital marketing, all that good stuff. Perfect. So I am gonna go now to my presentation. I was pretty impressed that Canva has slides. So that's kind of cool. So if you're looking to make your next presentation, definitely try Canva. So here we are. Welcome. We are talking all things content. This is webinar 1 in a 3-part series around digital marketing, and it is put on by KAST. Today we're going to talk about how to create a content strategy and why it matters. First thing, like I said, ask questions. This is your opportunity to get any of those burning questions answered at the end, and you can pop them in the Q&A box or the chat box. So I'd love to see what's coming up for you guys. Okay, so before I really dive in, I'm going to minimize this, and I'm going to do a bit of an introduction. So my name is Megan Adams. I don't know if I've met you before or not. I am the owner of the Mountain Hub in Invermere, so if I seem familiar, that's probably where you have seen or heard about me. I am a digital marketing expert. That is my expertise. I've been in this industry for the last 10+ years. And sometimes it's kind of, I don't know, kind of weird to show all your accolades in the beginning of a presentation because it gives a little bit of a, I don't know. We all have this behind the scenes reel about what's really going on in our lives and what really has made us who we are and where, and our accomplishments sometimes are a little bit roundabout and a little bit weird. So I thought I would talk about my career unhighlights. This is really what has shaped my career. So I got fired from my full-time position at Shaw in 2009. That is what completely launched my entrepreneurial initiatives, and at the time it was really shocking, but now that I look back, it was really pivotal. I currently have an empty co-working space, so we're all dealing with COVID-19 differently, and unfortunately the Mountain Hub is closed down, so that is definitely something I did not see coming my way, and I still don't really know what I want to be when I grow up. And because we are in such an uncertain time, I want to talk about the uncertainty. I want to talk about how we can create online presence and digital marketing, and we can support our businesses in this really chaotic time in the turmoil. So when I look at these unhighlights, I can see that they have helped shaped me, and they've led me to where I am now. And so getting fired helped kick off my entrepreneurial journey, which led me to where I am now. Having an empty co-working space has given me some time to lead webinar series with KAST, which is really exciting. I don't know if I would have had the time. And not knowing what I want to be when I grow up, helps me get paid to work on a bunch of different projects and meet different people and share what I know with people like you. So I think the theme for this webinar, of course, is going to be content strategy, but it's also going to be, where is the opportunity? So where is the opportunity in this time of chaos? Where is the opportunity in this time of quarantine? And so if you kind of keep that in the back of your mind, I think you'll be able to develop some really interesting content strategies. It is my belief that anyone, seriously anyone, can create online content. So online content is basically how people see, engage, and interact with your business online. We're talking about how it shows up on a blog, how it shows up on a website, how it shows up on Facebook, how it shows up on Twitter. And this content that you share lets your audience know a little bit about who you are, your area of expertise, your products, and your services. So it's essentially your story. And that can look like a blog post, an article, an ebook, a podcast, an email newsletter, and just think about anything that you consume online as a piece of content. Now, a great example that I use all the time is Wayfair. If you're not signed up for Wayfair, I don't know if I would recommend it because you'll get a lot of emails. What's great about Wayfair is that they fully leverage online content and they use machine learning. They have a bunch of content strategists all there and present to create and send out this content. So if you're ever looking for inspiration or ways that you can kind of structure your content, Wayfair is a really good example. So here we see 3 different types of online content examples: an email campaign, a social media post, and a blog post. Taking a look at the email campaign, this is a piece of content. It's this really powerful piece of online content, and that is that email newsletter. So here Wayfair is letting me know that they have an exclusive sale, final hours, and that they have some top picks for me based off of what I viewed on their website last. Now, another piece of online content is a social media post, and this one happens to be a Facebook post. And I know you all are very familiar with Facebook posts. Yes, that counts as content. So Wayfair has created a post offering 60% off. So it's more of a promotional post. But again, that's a piece of content. And then finally, we have a blog post, and that's just another example. What is really neat is that this is not a blog post from Wayfair itself. This is a blog post from a blogger that Wayfair paid to create content for them. So there's a lot of different ways that you as a business can create content, as well as you can leverage content from other people or other content creators. So I do encourage you to sign up for Wayfair or another large e-commerce organization or business, because these guys have their content like dialed in, and they also have an operating budget for online marketing probably in the millions. So it gives you some really good information and intel on how you might be able to use content for your business. So now that we saw those pieces of content, I do want to drive home that the good news is you're already creating content. I guarantee you, if no one is, okay, I'll eat my words. Likely you're already creating content. If you've ever posted on Facebook, that Facebook post is a piece of content. If you've posted on a blog, if you've sent out an email newsletter, I know that you're already creating that content. So you already have the difficult part done, because the creation part can be very, very time consuming. But now that you know that you're already a content creator, you just need to get a little bit more strategic. And so that's when we talk about creating a content strategy or a content plan. Now, don't let the words content strategy freak you out. Basically, it's just a plan to help you get organized and get a little bit more strategic. Because what happens is basically people start a Facebook page for their business and they post on it, then they get a bit fatigued or they don't see the results that they're looking for. So if you're getting strategic, the goal is to choose your content channels, get to know your audience, and create a content calendar around it. Now, 1 and 2 can be interchangeable. Don't get super attached to the order of this. The important part is that you know the content channels that you're going to be posting your content on, and that you know your audience and who you're developing content for. And we're going to go a little bit more into this. So number 1, choose your content channels. What does this mean? This means that you're going to choose the channels that your customers are hanging out on. Is that Facebook? Is that Twitter? Is that a blog? Where online does your customers or audience, I'm using them interchangeably, I'll use customers, where online are your customers hanging out? Where do they go to consume content? And then you're going to choose 3 to 4 channels. I mean, it can be more, it can be less, depending on your business and the type of content you create. And if you're a major content creator, then you might be on more channels. But my recommendation is to choose 3 to 4 and then master them before adding in more, because you're not stuck and limited to those 3 to 4 channels. And a good way to think about this is being everywhere often leads you to being nowhere. So every overzealous business owner, guilty, has come up with a business idea, come up with a business name, sign up for Facebook, sign up for Twitter, sign up for LinkedIn, sign up for YouTube, sign up for Instagram, sign up for TikTok, and on and on and on. So now I have 8 channels that I need to create content for and post on and engage on, and I'm overwhelmed, and now poof, I'm gone, I'm ghosting everybody. So if you're very strategic, choose just a couple channels to start and to just practice on, you're going to be way ahead. So don't choose all of the channels. Yes, I give you permission to only be on a couple. I'm just going to check my chat. Okay, good. I wanted to make sure that you guys are like, I can't hear you, you're all fuzzy. So perfect, great. Keep on chatting away. So to give you an idea, and like this is why we choose all the channels, is because there's a million channels to choose from, and they're kind of all fun. And we have the shiny syndrome, right? Oh, I'm a little bit tired of Facebook. Oh, TikTok seems really fun. And so it's just human nature to want to try out new tools. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just add a little bit of strategy, or just do it for your personal. You know, so your business doesn't have to be represented on everything. Maybe you want to try out TikTok. Maybe it's just more of for a personal platform versus a business platform. So here are some examples of channels. We have your website. So you could keep your website up to date with just some content on your pages. You could have a blog component on your website, and those are your blog posts. You can run an email marketing campaign and you send out newsletters. That's a piece of content. On social media, you can be on Facebook, LinkedIn, and on and on. Those are some more channels as well. And then you also have third-party platforms, which I am going to talk about, such as Medium, Quora, Reddit, Yahoo Answers, and even Patreon. And then one of the most hot topics or hot channels is podcasting. So that might be an opportunity for you to sign up for and to create content on as well. And that is really powerful for people that maybe don't want to sit down and write. They aren't the strongest writers, and they're really good maybe on the fly talking. So these are some examples of channels. When I'm talking about channels for your content, this is what I'm talking about. Now, the second point was get to know your audience. The biggest mistake I see businesses make around creating content is that they're not being helpful. They're creating content for themselves and not for their customers. And really, it's a missed opportunity. So if you can address your customers' pain points in your content, and you can help them solve a problem that they have that you know the answer to, and you're the bridge for that, your content is going to thrive. So think of it. Your customers are on Facebook. You now are putting your content that's helpful to them on Facebook. They're more likely to see it. Be helpful and deliver that content on a channel that they are familiar and hang out on. Now, the biggest thing that I see is people tell me that, well, they can always just Google the answer. Someone's already created that content. Why would I recreate it? What do I have to say that's unique? What do I have to say that's any different? And I like the quote, just because a customer can do it themselves doesn't mean they want to. So maybe they like going to you for help. Maybe they like the way that you position your content. Maybe they like the way you talk. Maybe they like the way that you answer questions. They like your energy. They like your personality. It also means that just because they can Google it, maybe they don't want to. So maybe you can be super helpful and just deliver a newsletter into their inbox once a week, and they don't have to go into that rabbit hole of Google, right? We all know what happens when you Google something. You have a little like weird thing on your skin and you Google it, you're in WebMD, and now you're down that rabbit hole and there's no coming out from it. So maybe a newsletter is how you help your audience not waste a bunch of time looking for the answer. And then you become a trusted authority for them. So be helpful. Don't be afraid to give away too much information. Don't be afraid to be too helpful. I have tons of stories from me personally, but also friends and other business owners I work with, in them landing some really, really big opportunities because they gave away some stuff for free that people found extreme value in. If you can prove that you're helpful and valuable and you know what you're talking about, people are more likely to pay you and buy your products and your services. So be helpful and know how you can help your customers. A lot of us, we have kind of like that professor syndrome. So we don't know that we're experts. We think that everyone knows everything that we know. And so I recommend doing a content audit. So these are, the audit is basically go into your personal email or your business email and go through all the customer emails you get. What are the questions that you're getting asked over and over and over? I guarantee you we all have a top 10 list of frequently asked questions. Each question a person asks can be a blog post. It can be a Facebook post. It can be a top 5 newsletter with bullet points, right? So what do you find yourself answering over and over and over and over again? Also, what are others in your industry blogging about? What are they posting on Facebook? What kind of content are they putting out? You're not going to copy it, but you're going to trust that they have a bit of a pulse on the same industry. And so you're going to piggyback a little bit on that content. It's just all in the name of research. Also, don't be afraid to ask your customers, hey, what kind of content is going to be really helpful to you right now? What can I create that's going to make your life easier? And a lot of times you'll be surprised. You'll be like, really? It's that simple? Are you sure? Because I have a 150-page white paper I was going to send out to you. And they're going to go, no, please keep it 250 words, a nice shiny picture, a simple call to action. Keep it easy for me. Make my life easy. So what can you create to make the lives of your customers easier? And then what are you passionate about? Is there an intersection? And hopefully there is. And that's where the magic comes from. You have a passion about something that intersects with the pain that your customers have. Because I'll tell you, creating content about something you're not passionate about is really, really difficult. And I think that most people that have difficulty creating content are trying to create content that they think their customers want instead of knowing what their customers want and then piggybacking on something they actually want to talk about. So figure out what you're passionate about, what fires you up, and you can do another audit on that. So what do you find? Look at your past week. What are you talking about with your friends and your family that you're like, whoa, I've been fired up about this? And then figure out, is there an intersection on that, how that content or that information might help your customers? And then I want you to write down your findings in a document. that you keep updating with these content ideas, because you can sit there, and I do this all the time, like, oh, epiphany. Usually they come when you're washing the dishes or you're having a shower or you're on a long walk with your dogs and you don't have a device or anywhere to write them down, and then poof, they're gone. So keep a document. I like to use Google Docs, and then I just have a brainstorming session, and I just put down, anytime I think of it, I pop it into that document, I pop it in. And then when I'm looking to create content, I'll go back to that document and I'll find something and be like, yeah, you know what, I really feel like talking about this today. Or I know that this is really timely and relevant to my customers. So keep your findings in a document. And our third point is create a content calendar. This does not need to be shiny and like complicated, but if you're anything like me, you will make it too complicated, and then you'll realize, oh, it's too complicated. I'm not following it because it's too complicated. I need to simplify it. So it's okay if you're going to go through that process. I do it all the time. But I give you permission to make it as simple as possible. Because really, the content calendar is there to keep you consistent. Because that's our biggest mistake, is inconsistency with content. So, okay, I know what my audience wants to hear from me. I have figured out the channels where I want to post my content. And then you don't ever execute. So go through those steps and then add that information. It could be a Google Sheet. It could be a Google document. It could be a calendar. It could be Google Calendar. It could be on a place like Trello. So add the information somewhere where you're going to check it and you're going to update it. And I'll show you an example after the slide of a really simple, easy content calendar. It's just going to help you know what content you're creating, what channel you'll post it on, and when. And you know, the quote, plan your work, work your plan. Anything marketing, anything business, it's all about having that plan. So here's an example of a content calendar that I use, and I send it out to my clients all the time just to show them how simple it can be. So this is in like a Google spreadsheet, and you'll see that it's a monthly snapshot. I work best with monthly snapshots. Some people work best with weeks. It just does not matter. And then what I'll do is I'll pop in the month. So I'll say, okay, May 2020, and then I'll number each corresponding day. At the bottom, I'll write down some key themes. So what are some key themes for May? Springtime, quarantine, no traveling, like all that stuff, right? People feeling cooped up, people working from home, people figuring out how the heck to jump onto a Zoom webinar. So these are the themes that I know that I want to start exploring in my content. So I'm going to write those all down. And then what I'm going to do is, if I've already brainstormed, I have a brainstorm tab at the bottom, and that could be your running document of all those brainstorm ideas. And then when I know what I want to talk about, then I'll pop it in on the day. So I'll know, hey, Tuesday, I'm going to go over and share content about an upcoming webinar. Or Wednesday, I'm going to create a post about the webinar that I'm leading. You know, and then different days, you know what's coming out and when. If you really want to get jazzy, you could also schedule when you're going to create that content. So you could say, okay, Sunday is my content creation day for the week, or the first Sunday of the month, I bulk create all my content for the month, and then I post it whenever, right? I post it in advance, or I post it on that day. The next tab is a yearly calendar, so you can really see the snapshot and you can really see the themes there. So this is how simple a content calendar can be. It's going to keep you honest about what you're posting and when. And then likely you'll add, I'll be posting this on Facebook, I'll be posting this on my blog, I'll be adding this to my newsletter. Awesome. I'm really excited about this part. So thank you, Heather McLeod, for letting me use you as a guinea pig. So Heather McLeod is, I hope you all know her. If you don't, try to meet her. She's the most amazing person ever. She's been a huge supporter of the Mountain Hub, and her energy is exceptional. So Heather McLeod is a writer, a mystery novel author, and then I wanted to put some quick links right here because you might want to check out how she shows up online and how she uses content to achieve some of her goals. So let's dive in. Content can help you achieve your goals. So in Heather's case, her goal, or one of her big goals, is to get a book deal for her mystery novel. Now, your goal could be starting a business. Your goal could be making $10,000 a month in revenue for your business. Your goal could be finding a job. Your goal could be becoming an Instagram influencer. It doesn't matter what your goal is. You can always use content to support that. So in Heather's case, Heather launched a website with a blog. This was a simple WordPress website, and these are posts she regularly writes about grief to help reconnect herself with the world and to share a little bit about the grief process. Okay, so this wasn't super professional focused. This was a lot of personal essays and a lot of stories about what's going on in Heather's life. Next, Heather and I had a brainstorming session with a couple other people. And in that session, it came up that maybe Heather should try posting her essays on a platform called Medium. So Medium is basically a blogging platform that already has an exceptional amount of traffic on it. Meaning Heather doesn't have to work so hard to get people to read her articles like she does on her WordPress website, right? So we all have started that blog and we have 10 readers and it's all our family. Medium already has that audience. So she was able to take that writing and tap into that existing audience on this third-party platform. And she has tapped into a huge audience that loves her writing and has done exceptionally well. So that led her then to start a Patreon account. So a Patreon account is for creators that are looking to create, and it's kind of like a Kickstarter in a way, but it's more of a membership. So you say, listen, if you become a Patreon of mine for $5 a month, $50 a month, this is what you get from me. And in Heather's case, it is content, it is updates, it's letting us know about the book writing process. All content, which is super awesome and granted a little bit easier for a person that is an author or a writer, right? Now, the latest thing has been Heather's been talking to some amazing people that probably are going to help her achieve her big goal. I think probably that big goal would have happened regardless, but I believe that that content has driven that outcome faster. Because now Heather has created content online. She's now created a massive following using Medium, using tools like Patreon. And that has gained a lot of online visibility and a profile for her. So this is how you can use content to drive and to achieve your goals. And I want to show you a little bit of background here. So this was the first Medium post, I believe, that Heather posted, and it went viral. It exploded, and it's brilliant. I recommend everyone read it. I shared it with everyone I knew. It was an amazing piece of writing and super informative. But because Heather leveraged Medium, where there already was that existing audience, and she knew who she was writing for and was writing about something she was really passionate about, that magic happened. And I say 10K views and growing, but I think that there's probably more at this time. And then here is Heather's Patreon account. So you can see that part of the process is now creating content for these Patreons in exchange for being supported financially for your writing. This is, to me, the power of content. This is the power of leveraging what you're good at and what you like to talk about in order to achieve whatever your ultimate goal is. Time check. So this really applies to Heather and this applies, this is the leading principle that I follow, is be the best answer. So when a lot of people say, well, there's already people that write about grief online. Megan, there's already people that talk about digital marketing. There's already people that talk about content online. Why would I talk about that too and add to that noise? I believe that no one else in this world is like you and is ever going to have that same perspective. And there's people out there, your tribe, your audience, your customers that are going to resonate with that message that you have. And I'm not going to be the best answer for everybody, and that's okay. But I know I'm going to be the best answer for somebody. And so that's what keeps driving me towards creating helpful content, figuring out all these channels like Facebook that changes all the time. It doesn't matter to me. What matters is that I am being helpful to somebody and that they come back to me and say, oh my gosh, your answer was the best answer for me at the time. I'm like, that's beautiful. That's perfect. And this online world where we are able to exist is super powerful. All of this is essentially free, right? So posting on Facebook is free. Maybe you create your own website. You don't even have to pay for a website. You could get a free one through Wix. None of this needs to cost money. Content does not cost money. Creating content does not cost money. And I'll show you some free tools at the end that can help you do that as well. So I think that content is a great equalizer. You just need to be a little strategic about it. And so it's your turn. I want you to really start thinking strategically about those content channels. If you need to audit those channels, like if you're like, oh boy, I'm on 72, I want you to audit them. Which ones do you find the most fun to post on? Which ones do you get the most engagement? Meaning, which ones are people commenting the most on your content? Which ones are people liking? Which ones are people finding? And then choose those ones. Then get to know your audience and your customers. Maybe you send out a survey. Maybe you call up a couple and just say, hey, can I not buy you a cup of coffee right now, but can I leave you a bouquet of flowers on your doorstep and pick your brain a little bit, right? We, before I started the Mountain Hub, that's what I did. So I went to some key people that I believed would be interested in a place like the Mountain Hub, and I picked their brain. There's a couple like Teresa, she was amazing. What do you need out of a space like this? What would be your pie in the sky idea? What is your motivation? Do you like working from home? Do you struggle working from home? And that helped me craft the strategy for the Mountain Hub. Marketing wise, get to know your audience and customers. In the early days, I had a lot of clients that had tech issues, right? So this was maybe 10 years ago. So technology wasn't quite as slick as it is now. I built the first website on Yahoo Website Builder. I don't even know if that exists anymore. So when I was working with my clients, they were like, oh man, I'm having so much trouble figuring out how to embed, a MailChimp form into my website. Or, oh man, I'm having so much trouble figuring out how to turn a background transparent. And I was answering those questions all the time. So what did I do? I signed up for a YouTube and I did what I called 2-minute tech tips. I didn't want to go over 2 minutes. I wanted to deliver it really fast so I could get it done and recorded like that. And that people could get that answer really fast. Because nothing annoys me more when I go onto YouTube for a solution and someone talks for 30 minutes about what they're going to talk about. Just show me, right? That's just my personality. So I did these 2-minute tech tips. I created a library on my website and I pointed all my customers to my website and said, before you ask me, go on there and see. And if there's any other questions, let me know and I'll quickly whip up a video for you, no problem. So I would say a year later, I get a LinkedIn message from someone at LinkedIn at the time, or lynda.com. And they said, we love your 2-minute tech tips. They're great. Would you like to create some courses for us on our LinkedIn learning platform? Now, if you told me when I was creating those 2-minute tech tips that that would eventually get in front of someone at LinkedIn Learning and that would start my career in creating courses and instructional design, I would have said no way. And I also probably would have made them nicer. But the point for me at the time was I'm serving my audience and I'm doing it in a way that takes no time for me and I don't have to spend any money and I can deliver exceptional value. I love that example as well, because that is what content can do for you out in the interwebs. You don't even know what this content can do. So the creation process might be even more, the outcome might be more than even just your customers getting help. It might be you start a partnership with somebody. It might be that you're asked to speak at a conference. This is why I believe in the power of content and how it grows your online presence. And then create a content calendar. If you have not done this, please do it. It can be post-it notes, whatever. Just get organized. It's going to make you feel really more empowered and better about all your content and what the heck is going out there online. I have a couple recommended resources. Copyblogger.com, phenomenal. They talk about content marketing, and there's some really great tutorials on there. Melissa Griffin, I've been following her for years. She was I don't know if she was an elementary school teacher. She now makes tens of millions of dollars a month. It's crazy, all through content, all through creating exceptional content. So I highly recommend following her or even enrolling in one of her courses just to see how she does it. Smart Passive Income, Pat Flynn, he's phenomenal. He's a content creator machine, and he also talks about designers and just some really amazing creatives in this area. Canva.com, that's what I created these slides on. I love Canva. It's DIY graphic design with templates for Facebook posts and infographics and everything in the kitchen sink, and it's free. You can upgrade, but you certainly do not have to. So canva.com, if you have not used it, is phenomenal. Before I pop into the Q&As or the chat box, there are 2 more upcoming KAST webinars. Wanted to mention this before I forget. We're going to talk about easy ways to boost SEO to get found by your customers. So we're going to talk about, okay, now you're creating content, you're posting on your channels, you have a little bit of a strategy. Let's dive in. How do you know what content to create and why? And how are you going to use that in order to get found on Google by your customers? So that's super juicy, and it's not going to be overly technical. And then how to set up an online shop to sell your products and services, because now you're basically creating content, you're getting found by your customers, and you're like, shoot, I don't have anything to sell anyone. Let's talk about that, and let's talk about how you can easily set up an online shop and the different ways that looks. So that'll be on the 20th. Okay, this is my favorite time, so I really hope that you guys all ask questions. I'm just gonna figure out, okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. And, okay, hopefully you can still see me. I'm gonna go into the chat box. Still time. Let me know any of your pain points or ideas, or say you have a business and you're like, I don't know what kind of content I should create. We can brainstorm that as well. So yeah, guilty of the overzealous owner syndrome. Yeah, and I think that as I like the term multi-passionate entrepreneur. And that means we're human. We have a lot of different interests that don't necessarily fall into this neat little box. And I think that's okay. Using Heather's example, she started a website that was about her own personal process with grief. right? Which then led her into the other facets. So she wasn't like, oh man, I'm a mystery novel writer and I really shouldn't talk about grief because that doesn't make sense for people and that might confuse people. No, if anything, it helps me love her even more. It helps me see her as an individual. It helps me resonate on a different level where maybe mystery novel writing I wouldn't resonate with. So I think don't be afraid to show your interests and your different sides to the world. Everyone loves Heather and Canva. Yes. Okay. So we do have a question. What would be your recommendation for a yarn shop? Ooh, I love this. So if you guys have any ideas as well, post it for Barb in the chat, and then we can kind of take a look to see what everyone thinks. So for a yarn shop, first thing that comes to mind is I want to see your creations. So can you take a picture of someone modeling a scarf? Can you take a picture of the latest creation and talk about it? And don't be afraid. Like, do you know what's going to happen when you do that and you post it? Is everyone's going to want it and everyone's going to want to buy it. And you don't have to be salesy. You can just say, oh my gosh, I created this new scarf. Or say you have a new project and you can't decide on the color. What color yarn should I use? Ask people. We love to be asked our opinion online. So post on Facebook and be like, this yarn color, what do you guys think? And then keep people posted of your process. Okay, guys, I chose the green and oh, remember that green scarf? Here it is. Right? So bring people in on the process. Any questions that you're scratching your head about or you're asking your husband or your kids, ask it online. And that is the same thing as creating content. That's a Facebook post. That is online content. Excuse me. Do you recommend a specific posting app like Sensible or Hootsuite to help post consistently? That's a great question. Excuse me. I do recommend a posting app. It'll help you stay consistent. It'll help you see a high overview of what's going on. So there's a couple options. You have Hootsuite. That's a great one. Buffer, Buffer. You can also pre-schedule posts within Facebook itself. So that's totally free and you don't even have to leave Facebook to do that. And it really also depends on what your strategy is, but I do recommend finding one that works for you and that feels intuitive. Oh, I will put up the slides with those resources right now. I think I can see my screen and, oh yeah, I can. Here we go. Cool. More, let's go back to the chat box here. Okay. Do you do all your posts for a month in one day or do you do each day? Okay, so when I was very organized, I would create all my posts. I dedicated to creating a blog post every Wednesday. And most of the time I would pre-write those on Sundays, but a lot of time I was writing those Wednesday morning. And that worked for me and that was fine. And then I had a process where then I would just share it out into all my other channels after that. So I used my content. So my blog post was my content and I only had to write it once and then I posted it out everywhere that it needed to go. But when I was really organized, yeah, I pre-created that content. Am I organized right now? No. And so I create content on the fly and that's okay too. So podcasts, okay, the question is, I was thinking of doing podcasts, but when you mentioned YouTube short videos, which sounds more tailored to what I want to do, what is the process for setting up YouTube? Yeah, I think that starting with YouTube is probably a great suggestion. There's less that goes into creating a YouTube typically than developing a podcast and going through that process. So if you Google how to set up YouTube, guarantee you'll get a million different results. It is really, really easy. If you have a Gmail address, it's even easier because Google owns YouTube. So Google that. You'll be able to find some great tutorials on YouTube on how to set up your YouTube. Very meta. Great suggestion for the yarn, sharing DIY project ideas and making kits with the supplies needed. Yes, right? That is brilliant. So now you're creating content that supports revenue, which is like the ultimate. It's like, oh man, I love creating content, but I love when it boosts my bottom line. So sharing DIY project ideas is awesome, and Pinterest will be a great place to see what other people with yarn shops are doing. Pinterest and Etsy, I suggest looking at. We have, okay, question. What are some ideas for a health and beauty product online store? We're a spa that had to close and transitioned online, and we're only reaching those on our email list. Yeah. So ideas for a health and beauty product online store. So what I would do is, so let's think of YouTube as a search engine, right? So YouTube is behind Google. They are the most, people use them to search for answers. So first people go to Google, then they go to YouTube. That means that if you're on YouTube, you are going to hit brand new people and a large audience. So I think perhaps for the health and beauty product, you could do some beauty tutorials on YouTube, and you can, sorry, excuse me, I'm just gonna, excuse me. So you can do some health tutorials, and then you can also email those out to your email list because you want to keep them up to date, but you can reach a brand new audience through YouTube. People love the tutorials now. You can also do them on Instagram. You can do an IGTV. So I think, Marnie, getting your content in video the quickest and the easiest way that you can will really benefit you. And maybe you don't do YouTube in the beginning. Maybe you just do it on your Instagram and you do an Instagram story and then get people really, really hooked that way. Instagram is huge right now for those beauty bloggers and beauty influencers. Awesome. I think we have some Q&As, but I can't figure out. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to go to the Q&A here. Okay. Would you recommend Patreon if you want to nicely ask for money to keep supporting? Yeah. Okay. Good question. So when would you recommend Patreon, and what types of, what types of content would you give in return? So I think Patreon is a really interesting tool. I think you have to feel comfortable with asking for money, and you have to feel comfortable with delivering the results. So as a Patreon, I sign up and I expect to get certain pieces of content. If you can dedicate yourself to that and you feel that you can be consistent, then that's great. I don't know if I'd necessarily do Patreon to support cooking classes. I think that you first start out offering cooking classes and then just having a gateway for those, so people have to pay in order to go to the class. Then maybe they totally blow up, and then you create a Patreon account that you then give some behind the scenes or some other perks. But just for cooking classes, I say no, it's too much setup. It's too much behind lock and key. It's too difficult for people to access that content. Keep your cooking classes open. Make people register for them. Think of Patreon maybe a little bit later. How do you promote yourself on Patreon? Yeah, Patreon it's a difficult one to promote yourself. And that's why my recommendation for the cooking classes was to not go forward with Patreon. It was because the promotion part is more difficult. Here we're going to talk about engagement. So I struggle with engagement on social media. What are some simple ways to get people to post comments? And what kind of questions can I ask? The number one thing I would recommend is looking at your insights. So on your Facebook page, you can go to your insights tab and you can see the posts that perform the best. And from there, you're going to do a little bit of detective work, and you're going to figure out what are the posts that do the best and why. Is it the time of day? Is it a picture? Is it a personal post? And so you're going to have to do some detective work on that. And then you're going to test that. And you're going to say, okay, for the next week or the next month, I'm going to post posts that I extrapolate are going to do really well. And then you're going to see if that is the result and the answer. Engagement is difficult on Facebook for pages because Facebook algorithm is looking for content that facilitates conversations. So if you're not getting engagement, it's tough to get engagement. It's kind of like the snake eating its tail. My main question would be, is engagement that on social media that important? So what are your goals? And sometimes it doesn't matter, right? Sometimes we think that we need to get a bunch of likes and a bunch of comments and engage in a discussion. I don't know. I think engagement a lot of times is overrated. I would suggest you look at what your strategy is and what your goals are. And if engagement is a part of it, then we can talk about that. But right now, I don't know if it really matters that much. Do you have any favorite email capture marketing platforms that you can recommend? I'm at the trailhead for this one and it feels foreign. I love some user-friendly ideas. Favorite email capture marketing platforms. So my favorite is MailChimp. MailChimp is super easy. You can create sign-up forms and you can plunk it all over into your content. It integrates really seamlessly with most websites like Shopify or Squarespace. And so email capture, basically, you guys did that to sign up for this webinar, right? Eventbrite did that. That was a marketing platform that facilitated your sign up and sent you reminder emails and let KAST know that you've registered. MailChimp does the same thing. It all depends on what your goal is. So if you're looking to get people into your events, then you can maybe use a marketing platform like Eventbrite. If you're looking to grow your newsletter, you're going to use MailChimp. It depends on what your goals are. Probably for you, Kayla, if you're at the beginning of it, you're looking to grow your audience. And so I would say just focus on that email newsletter and focus on building that email list and just use MailChimp to capture those emails. I have a question. Do you have a recommendation for a DIY website? Wix, Squarespace, WordPress? Yeah, I know, a million, hey? It's overwhelming to choose. I know, it is. So this is what I tell people. You're going to have to dedicate a little bit of time to signing up for the free trial for probably each of the ones you listed and seeing which one works best for your brain. We all think differently. We all interface differently with technology. I personally think that Squarespace is the easiest one to set up. Weebly and Wix, I cannot make head nor tail out of them. But I know that that's me. I know that there's a lot of people that it works really well for. WordPress now is going to be a different beast because you're going to have to do more stuff on the back end. So if you're not tech savvy, stay away from WordPress. But if you feel like you want to put a bunch of money into your website, WordPress might be a good option. You'll likely hire someone to help you with your website if you go forward with WordPress. Shopify is another great one if you're selling physical products. So go to each one, make a little matrix, make a spreadsheet. What are the features? And then what do I need? What is my budget? And how easy are they to use? It's going to take some legwork. And you know what? It's not that hard to change websites if you have to either. Okay, I'm thinking of selling my photos online. I'm thinking of trying SmugMug because as a template, and I don't have to spend money and time building my own photo website that, won't allow people to download without paying. However, I think SmugMug has a monthly fee and takes a somewhat large percentage of each sale. Any suggestions? I can also wait till the May 20th webinar. Cool. These are great questions though, because this will help structure how what I teach in the webinar. So feel free to ask these questions even if they don't feel super relevant for you. One thing to note is, and we'll cover this, is what is the bottom line? So how much is SmugMug or Shopify or the website that you're selling your stuff on? How much are they taking? And for some people, they'd be like, take 20%, I don't care, because that means I don't have to set it up and it's super easy for me and I can build that into my cost, right? So it really all depends on, I think, your budget It all depends on how much you're pricing your products for. Can you build that in? And then does the functionality of SmugMug make your life easier? And that percentage of each sale is like, well, I sell more because SmugMug's handling it for me, right? So not really the perfect answer, Peter. We will cover it more on May 20th. Another really great thing is to look at reviews. So is there a place where other creators and other photographers are going in a Facebook group? And are people, because likely they're people like you are talking about this and asking each other questions. So I'm part of 1 million co-working groups, Facebook groups, not 1 million, maybe 5. But we ask, what are you guys doing through COVID? How are you handling it, right? So the best resource for me is other industry people who've probably done some legwork already on that. But Peter, I love Shopify. Yeah, I like Shopify, but I don't know if there's a way to prevent people from stealing your images, which is pretty difficult online these days. Okay, without having person-to-person recommendations anymore for organic growth, what is the best way to gain trust of new customers online, especially when you're a new company offering premium goods? I love this question. Content, create valuable content. So people trust helpful people. People trust that you are an expert when you're providing them with tailored support and tailored help. So definitely have that website, and on that website have a blog. And on that blog, answer all those questions that you know that your customers will have, and then share those blog posts out on your social media platforms and stay consistent. So the first thing that I do is I'll go to a business's Facebook page, and if it was started in 2012 and the last post is on 2015, I'm like, I don't trust them. So stay consistent, start posting and continue posting. And then you'll start developing and building trust. And that also means that you'll start showing up in Google, because then when people Google you, you'll show up on the results, and then now you're a real business. Also create a, what's it called? A Google My Business account too. So if you go to Google My Business, you know, when people Google you and then the map comes up with your business and your location, that creates immediate authority and immediate trust as well. I saw someone post about MailChimp. It's MailChimp, MailChimp. It's awesome, super cheap, really free for most people until you kind of grow. Let's see, we got 3 minutes. Oh, what is it for? MailChimp? Okay, we're not going to go too deep into this, but you cannot send promotional or marketing or sales emails from your personal email account. That is against the law. You need to use a marketing platform like MailChimp. And what that does is it safely stores the email addresses of all the people that are on your email list. And so the Mountain Hub has an email list. It's in MailChimp. I use MailChimp then to send out emails from MailChimp. It'll still say from Megan and the Mountain Hub, but it's not from my personal email. And so it'll help me. I can do nice templates. I can see who's opened my email. I can see who's unsubscribed, and I can see a whole bunch of really good information that way. MailChimp has an amazing tutorial database. Type in what is MailChimp in Google, and you'll get some really, really good answers too. And then you can kind of see it, because right now it's you know, it's way easier to see it on your screen than to hear me kind of describe it. Hi, Michelle. Awesome. Let's see here. You're welcome, Cheryl. Suggestions for increasing email list for newsletter. Send out phenomenal emails, and then people will start sharing these emails and be like, oh my God, this email is so helpful. You have to sign up for their newsletter. Also, #1 way to increase your email newsletter is to let people know you have an email newsletter. All of us are so in our own heads that we're like, oh, everyone knows everything that's going on with me. No, because we're all in our own box. We have no idea typically what's going on the outside of us. So probably if you posted and sent out an email to your friends and said, hey guys, I have an email newsletter I'm really proud of. I'd love for you to sign up and let me know what you think. Here's the link to sign up, and that would be then through MailChimp. Perfect. 1 minute left. I think we got it all. Rapid fire QA. Maybe next week we can pop on and answer more questions. Now we have a quick message from Brenda about the difference between marketing to men and women. Yeah, there is a big difference. There's going to be a big difference between marketing to a millennial and a baby boomer. Doesn't matter if they're male or female, right? So, Brenda, my recommendation is to search customer avatar. And then that'll help you really get into the psychographics and the information of the customer that you're looking to target. And that'll help get you familiar with your audience. Sweet. Awesome. Well, we hit our time. Thank you so much, everybody, for jumping on. Thank you so much for the questions. Kayla, ping me after customer avatar, and we'll see you again. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.